offense.
Pharrell Coast to Coast, only on SportsGrid.
I talked about AZ Fudd a lot, folks, and said when she got back from that knee injury, remember, it's the second ACL tear she's had in her career, that she was going to be a difference maker. UConn is plus 330. They're not going to get challenged again in the Big East until they come out of conference play in a conference tournament. I still like them at plus 330 to win a national championship.
Betting above the rim, only on SportsGrid.
I feel when I look at this Arizona team, I don't take them serious as a national title threat because you're asking Caleb Love to bottle magic that I just don't even think exists.
4.4, 6.6, 7.4, 7.7, 7.8. This guy is literally taking, he'll shoot you out of games, Kevin.
Game time decisions, only on SportsGrid.
Two guys that can do it all.
Too much electricity this morning.
This is a good time. We're having a lot of fun.
I had to do a triple take. Ka-ching! Why? Because of parity.
I didn't mean to offend.
Yeah, it's not going to happen.
Load management is a dirty word.
Let him rip.
You know what? Circumstances provide the results.
What? How do you do this once?
Oh, Donnie, you got such a good show there.
A network that is booming.
The Early Line, only on
And welcome in. It's in-game live game day on a fabulous Friday. Scott Wetzel, Brady Kannon sitting in for Dave Sherapan tonight as we take you over the next two right up until 10 p.m. Eastern time, watching betting on the world of sports. Ah, yes. Little NBA, including a showdown in the Eastern Conference. Celtics off to a good start against the Cadavers. We got college basketball, little bit of hockey, little golf. We'll recap the second round with our good buddy Brady here who joins us. We got Colby Dant. We got Drew Johnson, Cam Stewart. Our good buddy. We got opposite picks coming up later on. SGPs, Black Clouds. We got it all over the fastest 2 hours in sports radio/TV. What's going on, Brady? How are you tonight, bud?
Yeah, not a whole lot of difference from Dave Sherapan. We're still in Las Vegas. He's my neighbor. He's down a little more hair. Yeah, right. He's, I guess, down in Florida, out your way, a little bit southeast, I guess, of where you reside. But checking out some spring training in his Pittsburgh Pirates, I understand. So happy to at least bring the Vegas contingent to the program here this evening.
There you go. This might be the only time the Pittsburgh Pirates play meaningful baseballs is right around now because generally...
Don't tell him that. You're not allowed to say that when he gets back.
I know. Between the Pirates and the Pittsburgh Penguins stinking out the joint and the Steelers finishing up, you couldn't play any worse than what the Steelers did, even though they made the playoffs. So, thank goodness they don't have an NBA team, I suppose, in Pittsburgh. So it's been a tough year for them. What are you making this first game? NBA headline game. We got Cleveland at Boston. I had forgotten. I thought it was Cleveland that won the first two out of the three, but then looking it up and doing the research and everything, I realized that it was the Celtics that actually won 2 out of the 3. I thought Cleveland won the last game, but they didn't. So Celtics with a chance, Brady, point being to go 3-1. They're not going to catch them. But as far as making a statement is concerned, the Celtics are doing it right now. They're up to a 25-2 lead. It's now 29-13. So the Cavaliers have cut into that a little bit, but still Boston up big already early, in this contest.
Yeah, I thought going in that and we've got a lot of basketball left, obviously, but the Celtics, like you say, really making a statement out early. I thought coming in that the Cavaliers might be the right side here because they've won 8 in a row. And the last time they lost a basketball game, it was to these Celtics. So a little bit of revenge on their mind, on their home floor, mind you, as well. Tough to win on the road, obviously. And then Boston coming off of a game where they were really just trounced by the Detroit Pistons. And then this is their first game since returning home. And I think that can be a tough spot sometimes for really any professional sports team. I think more so baseball, hockey, and basketball, Scott, not as much football because you play one game a week, right? But when you go out on a road trip for a few days and then you come back home and you're kind of getting your life back together again, sometimes it's hard to get back out there and play right away. And you're going up against a team like the Cavaliers. I thought this might be tough. You know, they were only laying 1.5. I know a lot of people that like the Cavaliers on the money line tonight. Then I also saw it was a very popular bet to be on. And I went, oh, that's kind of a red flag being that popular. And maybe that was the right angle because sure enough, you know, the Boston Celtics have gotten out to a great start here. But like I say, a lot of basketball left. I wouldn't be surprised at all if this thing tightens up.
Yeah, I know Porzingis tonight for the Celtics, but listen, they won an NBA championship basically last year without Porzingis. You know, he was hurt a good portion of the postseason. So I didn't quite understand, to me, why Brady, the Celtics were only a 2, 1.5, 2. And really last night it was 2.5 when I look at the lines, and then today, you know, it dropped down to even 1. I saw in some circles before tip-off. I mean, I just didn't understand that. Even now, again, it's a 12-point game now, so Cleveland's making a little bit of a run as we figured they would. But you know, you have the defending champs, you have them as slight favorites, you have them with a double-digit lead, and you know they're still only laying now 5.5 on FanDuel. So I imagine maybe the Cavaliers cut into that lead even more. But they're expecting this to be a close game, and they're expecting, I think, Cleveland to come back and then maybe even win the game because they're not giving you, you know, they're making it easy for you to bet the Boston Celtics right now.
I agree. Yeah, no, I think this could be a real good spot to jump in on the Cavaliers. Like you say, getting 5.5 just a second ago, it was 7.5, and only about plus 158, call it plus 160 on the money line. That's not an extremely juicy price when you're down by, well, let's see, they're down by 9 now. Yeah, I mean, it started out all Boston. Now it looks like the Cavaliers are going on a run. I think we're in for a pretty darn good game, Scott. And you know how it is. When the line is set at 1.5, you've got a couple of real quality teams here. I wouldn't expect that this is going to be a blowout.
Right. Don't know how you feel about, you know, who do you think is going to win the East? But if Boston does win tonight, they take the season series 3-1. If you think Cleveland at least has a fighting chance, Brady, does this detract from that if, in fact, Cleveland loses?
I think Boston is definitely the class of that conference. I think they are maybe the best team in basketball, period. I think Cleveland has really kind of caught lightning in a bottle. We've seen them look pretty good the last couple of seasons, and now they seem to have really found a rhythm here. I think they're going to challenge. I think they will make a nice little run in the playoffs. There's just not a whole lot, I don't think, else to look at in the Eastern Conference. I like the Knicks, but I'm not so sure. Philadelphia is an absolute mess. The Bucks seem to be inconsistent. I think Boston is absolutely the class of the conference and probably will represent in the final. But I think Cleveland would be my number 2 in the East.
All right. The other team that had a chance to make a statement tonight, you know, Cavaliers being 1. The other one to me was the Detroit Pistons. Real tough spot. But they've won 8 in a row, playing best basketball they played all season long, right? Covered most of those games, if not all of them. Their last game, they beat the Boston Celtics. Tonight, they're hosting the Denver Nuggets. For them to complete that daily double, albeit at home, Boston one night, 2 nights later, Denver, that would be really, again, I don't know if that would make anyone say, okay, the Pistons are, you know, going to the NBA Finals. But as far as like, okay, you're for real, that's their opportunity tonight. Right now, down 5. They were down bigger before. They've come back late second quarter, high-scoring game, 64-59, minute and a half left to go in the second quarter. Your thoughts on that one?
I think they've been one of the best stories in all of sports the last couple of weeks. You know, I mean, out of nowhere, it seems this team was absolutely the doormat of the NBA, what seems for like the last 5 seasons or so. And now all of a sudden they've won 8 in a row. Good matchup. I mean, Denver's won 8 out of their last 10. And I know they've got the lead right now. Let's see, looks like a 4-point advantage. So the lead has been cut into a little bit here by the Pistons. And you wonder if Denver will start to run out of gas a little bit in the second half, because this is the second leg of a back-to-back on the road, mind you, as well. So not only is it the second leg of a back-to-back, but also away from altitude there in Denver where they have that advantage. So I think the Pistons are in a perfectly good good spot right now. You can catch them getting 3.5 points. You know, early on in this contest, or prior to tip-off rather, they were just getting about 1.5 or so. Now you've got almost 3 times that. I think the Pistons are in a really good spot, and get as many points as you can right now, because I think the second half, this Denver team might start to run out of gas a little bit.
Yeah. Look at that over-under. It's 66-63, minute left, 250 and a half. I mean, you got basically 130 points. You're almost being asked to duplicate that second half. And you said it, on the second of a back-to-back for Denver, I can't help but think maybe the legs will go a little bit fourth quarter. I'd take a little flyer on the under. That's a lot of points. It just is. So maybe
not your dad's NBA anymore with these totals these days, is it?
That is for sure. That is for sure, man. All right, just underway. In-game live, game day on the grid.
So my team didn't win this weekend, but I still did with this app that's taking over the game. Sports Millions Pick'em lets you make quick and easy predictions. Pick your favorite players, go higher or lower, and you can still win big even if your team loses. Plus, the multiplier is insane. With just a few picks, you can win big money. So get on it. They've got a welcome bonus to help you start off your winning streak.
There is going to be an energy to game time decisions that you will feel night in and night out. We're going to go through every single thing, and I've got a great team behind me that's going to help me get the job done. I want this to be the place that people come to. We are going to hit every single one of those markets that you need to know about. There is not going to be a better place, I promise you, than Game Time Decisions. We will have everything at our disposal, and we will use that to our advantage. I'm Kevin Walsh. Tune into Game Time Decisions from 6 to 8 p.m. Eastern on SportsGrid.
The two guys that can do it all.
Too much electricity this morning.
This is a good time. We're having a lot of fun.
I had to do a triple take. Ka-ching! Why? Because of parity.
I didn't mean to offend.
Yeah, it's not going to happen.
Load management is a dirty word.
Let him rip.
You know what? Circumstances provide the results.
What? How do you do this one?
Oh, Donnie, you got such a good show there.
A network that is booming.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
Your gut says Miami is going to win, and you should take the over. Your gut also said your NFT selfies would only go up in value. They didn't. But your head is on SportsGrid and knows the QB is in concussion protocol. The backup has a 45 QBR against the zone coverage. The New York D has the most sacks in the league. So yeah, trust your head. It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
Welcome back. It is in-game live game day here on the grid. Just getting underway. Hour number one. Scott Brady Kannon sitting in for, I was going to say Joe Ranieri, for Dave Sharapan tonight. Joe filled in last night for our guy Dave, who's going to be off again next week. So just taking a look at the NBA. And that'll be the main focus. To have got to recap the second round of the LPG, of the PGA stuff. We got a little college basketball. Got a halfway actually decent matchup, UCLA and Purdue out of the Big Ten. smaller conferences we'll take a peek at, and then one or two NHL games, Brady. But the main one is, the NBA tonight, as we're looking at really 3-4 games. Haven't had an OKC cover in a while. They're overdue. 3 straight games without covering. They're winning, but not covering. And they're off to a good start against the Atlanta Hawks. 47-29. OKC already up 18, now laying 18.5 early second quarter. Over-under 245.5. We were talking about the over-unders, right? How many games right now have 240 or above? 1, 2, 2-1, 3-1, 4-1. Out of 5 games that are underway, 4 of them have an over-under early on in their contest of 240 or higher. And that's the NBA 2025.
Yeah, it's absolutely amazing. And I mean, you look at the pre-tip numbers, the Nuggets and the Pistons was just about there, basically 239.5. Cavaliers, Celtics, 233.5. Nets, Blazers, 220. And then Hawks and Thunder, 245. Knicks and Grizzlies. This is the one that got me, the Knicks of all teams, the New York Knicks. That's what it's become. Like you say, in 2025, 244.5. Raptors and Bulls 232. So, I mean, maybe that's just saying that one game is a little bit over or ahead of pace anyway. But now Cleveland down by 14, Scott. When we went to break, they were starting to cut into that Celtics lead, only trailing by 9. The in-game number was down to 5.5. It's only 7.5 now as it looks like they hit a 3-pointer, down by 11. I think 7.5 is a take on Cleveland.
Yeah, I tell you, I got to see it out of them to believe it. I like the Celtics. It's kind of hard to say, okay, I like the Celtics laying 2.5, but not 7.5. I don't know if I would lay the 7.5, but, you figure Cleveland's going to make a little bit of a run. But we've seen some blowouts really lately, whether it was Dallas getting blown out, whether it was the Knicks getting blown out a couple of times against Boston being one of those teams. I wonder, just as far as, postseason is concerned, if you're Cleveland and you have the year they're going to have, I mean, they're going to end up losing 15 or less games. I mean, unless something crazy happens, right? I mean, they're 47-10. Even if they lose tonight, they're 47-11. It is amazing. Right? It's hard to win that many games. But they would have lost 3 of 4 to Boston, and they know the road to the postseason goes through Boston. They lost to Boston last year. They could go, 78-0, but if you go 0-4 against the Celtics, how much confidence do you really have heading into a best of 7 against that Celtic team, no matter what your record is?
Does this feel like to you, I think sometimes you get this in baseball. I guess you get it really in all sports, but is this kind of the Celtics saying like, we're going to show them who's boss? Like we still run this conference, guys. You're having a great year and all, but now you're coming to daddy's house. It kind of feels like maybe that's the mood there in Boston. I expected Cleveland to be competitive, and maybe we'll still get there. They're certainly not going away. And it is a little interesting. You and I have kind of touched on this, that, even though the margin here is pretty wide, the odds makers aren't giving you a whole lot of points. It looks like they still expect this to be somewhat close as well.
Yeah. I'll tell you the other thing, Brady, is the Celtics are down to plus 175, not to win the East, to win the whole kit and caboodle.
Yeah.
If they were to win the East, it's minus 150. I'm telling you right now, I don't think it'll like double. But if they win tonight, that minus 150 will probably shoot up to 160, 165. And that plus 175 to win it all, I bet that goes down to about 160, 165. Because it wasn't that long ago. It was plus 210. Because I know I put it in a couple weeks ago.
You grabbed it, huh?
Yeah, I did. You know what? I just – who's beating them? Who's beating them?
It doesn't feel like OKC has experienced enough, right? I think Denver, you'd think Denver's been there and done that. They have the best player in the world. You'd think they have a shot. I'm not going to really buy into the Lakers, but you know what? They're starting to sell me. I mean, they add Luka Doncic and they're actually playing better defense. How's that happen? But they are playing great defense these days. The West is really interesting. It's almost like that's the championship, it seems, Scott. Who's going to win the West? That's a great race. I think we know Boston's probably going to come out of the East, and I don't think it's a bad bet you made. At the worst case scenario, you can probably figure out a way to monetize with a hedge or whatever you got to do, because it could be that their opponent is an underdog, and maybe you're getting plus money taking the. There's a lot of different things you can do in a 7-game series, but I mean. It's not going to be Memphis. I don't really see anybody in the West that I think Denver would have to be my vote as who would give them the most trouble. I don't know if it's OKC.
Yeah. I'm thinking Denver too, but every time I watch them play, like I watched a good portion of last night's game after the show, and they couldn't get it done. Like their lineup is pretty good, but man, there is a drop off with their bench. And after you get through the first 2-3 guys, is Michael Porter Jr. really good? I mean, he's okay. Jamal Murray should be much better than what he is. Obviously, you got the Joker, but the Christian Brauns of the world, who I thought when they won the championship, were like, wow, this team is going to be loaded. They really haven't developed. When you're counting on Russell Westbrook as much as this team does, I wonder if they can really get it done. I
do
really
you
do.
Bet on the Lakers to win the West? I like the veteran leadership. They have the star power.
Yeah. And you think about, here's the scary thing about the Lakers. Luke is not playing well. Like his shooting has just been brutal from 3-point land. Another 1 for 9 the other night, and they're still winning. They're 7-2 since they acquired him in a trade.
Denver a few nights ago.
Right. Imagine when he actually starts playing well and is hitting his shot, how good they're going to be. Yeah, not a bad
Lakers. A pretty good one.
NBA would sign up for that. That's for sure.
Brady Kannon saying that if his brother did miss that overtime period against Canada like we saw him do, it must be serious out there. And of course, Brady Kannon, not a doctor, but you've got to wonder the status of Matthew Tkachuk and what we're going to find out.
Game time for all of these teams and all these players that were, teammates. Now they're facing off against each other. Now they're back to being teammates, whatever it might be. Like, it's time to get things rolling back in the right direction.
HL today, only on SportsGrid.
Two guys that can do it all.
Too much electricity this morning.
This is a good time. We're having a lot of fun.
I had to do a triple take. Ka-ching! Why? Because of parity.
I didn't mean to offend.
Yeah, it's not going to happen.
Load management is a dirty word.
Let him rip.
You know what? Circumstances provide the results.
What? How do you do this once?
Oh, Donnie, you've got such a good show there.
A network that is booming.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
You have Duke the 1, Houston the 2. They're the 2 best defensive teams in the country. I want to see them play for the right to go to the Final Four because I think that would be a kick-ass game.
Duke is really great on both ends of the floor. They can score and they can defend, and that's why they win by big numbers all the time, because they're really good on both ends of the floor. I don't trust Houston's offense.
Pharrell Coast to Coast, only on SportsGrid.
All right, welcome back. In-game live game day here on the grid. Scott and Brady Kannon until 10 p.m. Eastern time. 24 past hour number 1. You know what time it is. Time for a little SGP same game parlay. All right, we're going to go to the NBA board for our SGP tonight. Minnesota at the Utah Jazz. How about that? Let's go with Minnesota. I know they're not playing without, or they're playing without Anthony Edwards. I get that, but we've seen 1,000 teams play without their star players, normally because of injuries, and do well. So, you know what? As much as I'd like to have him in there, he decides he's going to kick the ball into the stands. Where to go, AE? He's suspended for the game. That's all right. Minnesota, even without AE, is better than the Utah Jazz. Their numbers are really amazing when you come to think about it. Minnesota against Utah, right? You would think a relatively even matchup over the years. Minnesota is 19-4 against the spread their last 23 games at Utah, including 11-1 their last 12. I don't know what it is. I search high and low for some kind of rivalry or some kind of incentive or some reason why Minnesota would do so well against Utah. But you know what? I couldn't find it, but that's okay. That they do. So let's grab Minnesota laying the 2.5. It might be up to 4.5 in some circles. Got to go with Naz Reid. No Rudy Gobert. 8 rebounds or more. If you were going to play one piece separate, this would be it. The dude, he's the backup center for Minnesota. He's gotten 8 rebounds in all 5 or all 6 of the games that Gobert has missed, including 11 rebounds in 5 of the 6 games. So the fact that we're getting odds at 8 rebounds, grab that definitely. Throw that in there. Then I'm counting on Mike Conley to be the man tonight without Anthony Edwards. 10 points or more, over 5.5 assists, over 1.5 3-pointers. He's had 2 3-pointers in 7 of his last 9 games, so that shouldn't be a problem. He's had 6 assists or more in 10 of his last 13 games. That shouldn't be a problem. And without AE on the floor, he's got to pick up the scoring a little bit. So, he generally gets 8, 9, 10 points anyway. And then the last one, we'll go one over on Utah side, little Walker Kessler, 2 blocks or more. He's their center. He gets that on a regular basis. You're laying a little juice there, minus 320, but it'll add to our parlay. So add it all up. Minnesota laying the points. Naz Reid, 8 rebounds. Conley, points, assists, and 3-pointers. As you see there, Kessler, 2 blocks. Pays over 8-1, plus 834 when I put it in earlier today. What do you think?
Go Timberwolves. Go Timberwolves. Pretty Mike Conley heavy there, right? You're hoping it's a big night for Mike Conley. I certainly can't argue with you on Minnesota winning this game. I would probably, lean towards Minnesota covering this game. Yes, Anthony Edwards is not there. Julius Randle not in the lineup for the Minnesota Timberwolves as well. But I love the Naz Reid angle, because I don't think the Jazz can really stop the big men. And, you talk about Kessler getting a couple of blocks. I don't think that's a bad play either, because I think he's going to get a lot of attention. I think Minnesota is going to try and dump the ball inside and take advantage of that soft spot with the Jazz defense. So that's why I really like Reid. I do believe Kessler will get a lot of attention, probably comes up with a couple of blocks just by accident. I think this one comes down to Mike Conley for you, Scott.
Yeah, I'm going to count on him to get the job done. It's amazing. I have to kind of count on Utah actually keeping the game competitive as well. Like I think they'll do. I don't think they're going to win. I don't think they're going to cover, but I don't want to see them, be losing by 25.
They're well rested.
And all the starters sit the bench. So
they're well rested here, so they should be okay. And obviously you're at elevation. I no reason I don't see why they shouldn't be somewhat competitive here.
Yeah. So keep your fingers crossed on that one. They tip off at, 9:40. What are we? It's about an hour and 15 minutes. So you got plenty of time to get some action in. College basketball, light slate, but we do have, a couple of decent games here, Brady, including UCLA Purdue, just underway for the most part. About 9 minutes in, 16-12 Purdue leading. At home, now laying 7.5, was 5.5, 6 to start the game. I played the under 138.5. I just play, it's an automatic UCLA under play for me, play them all season long. They're not quite as good on the road otherwise as they are at home, but the number is very similar now, 137.5. What'd you like in this game?
I think the under is a pretty good way to go because, lately Purdue has been Purdon't. They've lost 4 in a row. And when you're going through a struggle like that, typically you want to put the emphasis on defense. So that makes some sense there. I also thought it was a good buy low spot on Purdue, the better team here. I laid the 6. I didn't get the great number, but I think they're going to be able to get this one by margin.
All right, more college basketball talk. Colby Dan coming up next.
Brady Kannon saying that if his brother did miss that overtime period against Canada like we saw him do, it must be serious out there. And of course, Brady Kannon, not a doctor, but you've got to wonder the status of Matthew Tkachuk and what we're going to find out.
Game time for all of these teams and all these players that were, teammates. Now they're facing off against each other. Now they're back to being teammates, whatever it might be. Like, it's time to get things rolling back in the right direction.
HL today, only on SportsGrid.
Two guys that can do it all.
Too much electricity this morning.
This is a good time. We're having a lot of fun.
I had to do a triple take. Ka-ching! Why? Because of parity.
I didn't mean to offend.
Yeah, it's not going to happen.
Load management is a dirty word.
Let him rip.
You know what? Circumstances provide the results.
What? How do you do this one?
Oh, Donnie, you've got such a good show there.
A network that is booming.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
You have Duke the 1, Houston the 2. They're the two best defensive teams in the country. I want to see them play for the right to go to the Final Four because I think that would be a kick-ass game.
Duke is really great on both ends of the floor. They can score and they can defend, and that's why they win by big numbers all the time, because they're really good on both ends of the floor. I don't trust Houston's offense.
Pharrell Coast to Coast, only on SportsGrid.
All right, welcome back in Game Live, Game Day here on the grid. Scott Brady Kannon, just hour number one, getting underway for the most part. Time to talk a little college basketball with our good buddy Colby Dan. Check out his podcast, the College Experience Podcast. Excuse me, at your favorite little podcast store, Holmes. What's going on, Colby? How are you tonight, bud?
I'm great. This time of year, man. I'm watching this Princeton-Columbia game right now. I'm excited, I'm probably one of 7 people in America, but I'm excited. I love this time of year, man.
Hey, listen, I got action on St. Peter's Quinnipiac, so I'm right behind you. St. Peter's
Who'd you take?
For a big road win. I took the under, and then I took Quinnipiac at halftime. They were down like either 9 or 11 at basically pick them, and you know what? They're still down 11 right now, so I'm in trouble with Quinnipiac.
I still love it. But, don't worry about it.
There you go. Let me throw. Speaking of goofy games, I'll throw a couple at you. Now it's working out, I will say, but I didn't quite understand James Madison, Texas State. For those that don't follow the Sun Belt, James Madison needs to win in order to win the conference regular season outright. Texas State is kind of a middle of the road, Brady or Colby, you know that. And James Madison, I think, was actually getting a 1.5 against 15-15 Texas State. I took it. They're up 11 right now, midway through the first half. What'd you think of that game, if anything?
Yeah, that line crossed 0 too. I took Texas State, believe it or not. I mean, the logic was this for me. The Sun Belt is just one of these wacky conferences. And if you haven't seen the bracket this year, I encourage everyone to Google the Sun Belt bracket this year, because look, these bye weeks for the conference tournament, these bye games, like the bracket, I understand it in the WCC when you have Gonzaga and St. Mary's that are like name brands and like you want to make sure they get into the tournament. When you're the Sun Belt, when every team is like a 1-game difference, it's insane to me. They have 5 bye games, the 1 and 2, 5 byes for the 1 and 2 seeds, right? So a perfect example was a week ago. South Alabama was in first place. They played at Texas State. Texas State was favored. I locked up Texas State. It's a very nice home crowd that they have. So that was the logic on me taking Texas State again tonight. Was no one is that good. The one seed has just bounced around the whole Sun Belt. So I just thought more chaos. Give me Texas State at home.
Colby, a little bit more high-profile game here in the Big Ten this evening. Evanston, Illinois is the site for Northwestern and Iowa, and not exactly the class of that conference either. More of the bottom feeders going at it here, but a little revenge on the mind for the Purple Cats of Northwestern. It was a buzzer beater earlier in the season, I believe back in January, that Iowa was able to get past Northwestern in that one. And here Northwestern coming up at the top of the hour, laying 4.5 points, a total of 150.5. Which way did you lean with this one?
I took Iowa, and I actually took Iowa on the money line. So both these teams are just beat up. All right. You got, for Northwestern, Brooks Barnizer, arguably their best player, out for the year. Jalen Leach, one of their best players, out for the year. And then same situation for Iowa with Owen Freeman out for the year. My thing is Fran McCaffrey has done great historically. And I think, it's kind of been, there's a rumor going around that this is his last hurrah. I was going to move on from him. I still think he's got a knack for beating Northwestern. I kind of like the fact that there's no pressure on them and there's a little more pressure on Northwestern. So I took the points in a matchup where just coaching matters historically. I feel like he's done well against Northwestern, so that was my angle there. It is a bit of a wild card to play just because of all those injuries, but I definitely think it'll be a close game.
How about Purdue off to a pretty good start, Colby, against UCLA, 26-17, 5.5, 6-point favorite to start, up to 9.5 now, midway through the first half.
Can you repeat that? I'm sorry, I missed the beginning of that.
That's right. Purdue and UCLA. Purdue's up 9 now, laying 9.5.
Yeah, I took Purdue. They lost 4 straight. I just thought there's no way they're going to lose. Matt Painter hasn't lost 5 straight, I feel like, since his opening season in West Lafayette. So another thing is Mick Cronin's been terrible on the road. He's complaining about it. He acts like you're storming Normandy Beach or something with the way, he paints this thing up every week. And a John Wooden Bowl there. I know that's actually kind of become like a it's not your traditional, UCLA when they're playing Rutgers and stuff. UCLA Purdue actually play more because of that. I just think Purdue at home, Mackey Arena, with you're not gonna lose 5 in a row. They got to get this. I like them to win by double digits.
Colby, another one that I know Mr. Wetzel has gone deep down the board to invest some good hard-earned money in. The Akron Zips, a little action tonight in Akron, Ohio. They will take on the Golden Flashes of Kent State. Akron's pretty darn good. They're at the top of that conference. They get a win here, and that guarantees them a tie for the conference championship or the conference title in the regular season anyway. It seems like a relatively short price, laying 3.5 here. What are your thoughts here? Akron hosting Kent State.
Yeah, I was a bit shocked of the number, especially when you consider Akron is 14-0 at home this year. I love this Akron team too. It's a rivalry game, battle of the wagon wheel, but I just can't get there with Kent State. I do think they're playing better ball than the first matchup when they got housed by Akron by 14 there in Kent. But I just think Akron, most years, the MAC is kind of wacky. This year, I actually believe there's a gap. So I'm gonna lay that point or those points with Akron. I do think they're a team. I'll be honest. If you're looking for long shots to make the Sweet 16 from the mid-major ranks, if you could find odds on that, I think it's worth Akron is one of those teams that I would actually say watch out for in the NCAA tournament.
How about some games tomorrow? Give me a game or two tomorrow that you really like.
I'm going to take you to the WCC. We talked about brackets that are kind of crazy. The WCC bracket is crazy because they protect their top 2 seeds, but it's logical because their top 2 seeds are top 25 teams every year. Gonzaga is battling for the 2 seed. St. Mary's is the 1. Gonzaga's taking on San Francisco at San Francisco, but not really at San Francisco. In my opinion, San Francisco's athletic director should be fired for this move because they're playing at the Warriors Arena. Gonzaga's going to have that crowd because their fans are going to travel to that. And by them not playing on campus, where the San Francisco Dons are undefeated, unbelievable mistake. Millions of dollars, because not only do you, if you win this game, if you're San Francisco, would you probably be on that tournament bubble, but you also get those 4 bye games. It's a colossal. It's the second year they've done this. So I'm all over the Zags minus the points there against San Francisco. I think they're going to win by double digits.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense there, Colby. And, traditionally, the Dons have really played Gonzaga very competitively, but I don't quite understand that move either. We've got the WCC conference tournament every year in Las Vegas, have for a long time. Fast forward, I believe that starts next week. Fast forward to that conference tournament. Do you expect it's got to be Gonzaga and St. Mary's in the final. It seems like that's the case every year. Who do you think wins that conference tournament, the Zags or the Gales?
Yeah, I'm kind of sold of the opinion that the Gales are just the flat out better team this year. They've turned that corner, and Gonzaga, for whatever reason, is not as sharp as they've been. But I will tell you this is the best San Francisco team in a few years. That's why it kills me when I see this. And I joked around about it on our preseason episode in October, but how can you do this if you put yourself in a spot like this? It's going to cost you millions of dollars. But I think St. Mary's wins the WCC.
That'll be interesting. You're not really probably getting any benefit of that with like the boys in Vegas, making them an 8.5 point favorite. Like, I don't think they would be that big of a favorite if the game was actually at San Fran. Maybe not. We'll get Kobe's thoughts on some more games tomorrow, right here on the grid when we come back.
Brady Kannon saying that if his brother did miss that overtime period against Canada like we saw him do, it must be serious out there. And of course, Brady Kannon, not a doctor, but you've got to wonder the status of Matthew Tkachuk and what we're going to find out.
Game time for all of these teams and all these players that were, teammates. Now they're facing off against each other. Now they're back to being teammates, whatever it might be. Like, it's time to get things rolling back in the right direction.
HL today, only on SportsGrid.
Two guys that can do it all.
Too much electricity this morning.
This is a good time. We're having a lot of fun.
I had to do a triple take. Ka-ching! Why? Because of parity.
I didn't mean to offend.
Yeah, it's not going to happen.
Load management is a dirty word.
Let him rip.
You know what? Circumstances provide the results.
What? How do you do this one?
Oh, Donnie, you've got such a good show there.
A network that is booming.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
You have Duke the 1, Houston the 2. They're the 2 best defensive teams in the country. I want to see them play for the right to go to the Final Four because I think that would be a kick-ass game.
Duke is really great on both ends of the floor. They can score and they can defend, and that's why they win by big numbers all the time, because they're really good on both ends of the floor. I don't trust Houston's offense.
Pharrell Coast to Coast, only on SportsGrid.
All right, welcome back in Game Live, Game Day here on the grid. Scott Brady Kannon talking with our good buddy Colby Dant, the College Experience podcast, going over some of the college games a little bit for tonight, obviously, but we're touching on some games here, Cole, for tomorrow. One that stands out, listen, there are a number of great games right this time of the year. How about Kentucky at home getting 4.5 against number 1 Auburn? And I will tell you a little preview of opposite picks coming up here in a little bit. Auburn 7-1 on the road, right? The best team in college basketball, number 1, blah, 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 right? But you know what? They only have 2 road wins by double digits. You know, teams like Texas, Georgia, LSU, South Carolina, all hung with Auburn on the road. And now you're playing a much better team than those in Kentucky. And I'm getting, 4.5 points. Hard not to like the Cats in my eye in this game. What about you?
Yeah, I was going to bring up all those points. You look at it, and one of the things I think Auburn looks so fantastic this year, but they have such a home edge. I worry about that in the postseason, and I worry about that here in this spot because Kentucky Rupp Arena is one of the loudest arenas in the country. Obviously, their fan base is awesome, and you let that happen. You go on a little drought like they did against Georgia and South Carolina. They probably should have lost both those games. I don't know. I think Kentucky's a little more talented than those two teams. You go on that drought, I think Kentucky will make you pay for it, whereas South Carolina and Georgia couldn't. So I'm going to take the Cats in the points. And I do think that this is an interesting play for a money line spot, especially when you consider we're close to that next game against what they got A&M at A&M, and they also have the Iron Bowl in the next week. So I think it's a little bit of a distraction spot to a certain extent.
Colby, and I think you're also spot on. I think home court advantage this time of year is kind of elevated because, the fans are in a frenzy. We're getting close to crunch time, tournament time. I think that maybe adds a point or two to that home court advantage across the college basketball landscape. One more game right here in Las Vegas for your Friday night I wanted to touch on with you. We've got the battle for the Fremont Cannon, the Wolfpack coming down to the Thomas and Mack Arena to take on UNLV. It feels to me like Steve Alford's club is much better than UNLV, but it is a rivalry game. The Runnin' Rebels getting 1.5. They've won 4 out of their last 5. Would you take the home dog here or no?
Yeah, and it's funny, Steve Alford coming into the year, I was at Mountain West Media Days and I got to interview him and a few other, coaches there. And I think everyone had Nevada as the preseason favorite, them or Boise with their experience and their roster. But for some reason, it just hasn't worked out. They've been awful on the road. And when you consider, UNLV, so Nevada's 3-6 on the road this season. UNLV, under Kruger, who I know could be canned, after this season, if they don't get it together here, they've been pretty good at home though. And they're 10-5. Now those crowds have been pretty weak. They're like it's weird. I know you're out there in Vegas, but those crowds just haven't been what UNLV was when I remember the heyday in the 90s. I think this is actually the only game of the year that it actually like kind of resembles that. I think that's a little bit of edge. I know the injuries are a big factor here with Thomas. Thomas, I think, is a game time decision, but I think that, he's been out for the past couple games. That's something to circle, but I'm going to take UNLV. With Nevada's just been so bad on the road, even though I do think they're a way better roster. I just can't get behind them. I've gotten burned by them a lot this year. So give me the Rebs at home, and they're the more desperate team. And losing the first battle of these up in Reno, and the fact their coach may be on the way out the door. Give me the Rebs to get the outright win here.
All right. More big boy basketball. Tennessee laying only 3.5 against Alabama. The Volunteers at home there, Cole.
Yeah, this is one of my favorite plays. This and the Gonzaga play. I love Tennessee in this spot. And really, I love when Alabama has to play these teams that make you like. Alabama plays run and gun, Paul Westhead offense, get up the court, shoot, but there's not a lot of structure to their game. Perfect example is you look at them, they're number 1 in the country in pace, and they've been number 1 for the previous years. Whenever they play a team that is really slow, Tennessee's 334th in pace, they make you maximize, they minimize the possessions and make you maximize those. You need to maximize on those possessions there. So, to me, they make you feel uncomfortable. And Alabama has not been able to be good against these teams that really do this. You can go back to the NCAA tournaments, not last year, but the ones prior when they really played the teams that do this. And look, last time they played Tennessee won by 7. So I love Rick Barnes to slow this game down, have them really play out those possessions, and they'll feel uncomfortable with that. That's not their game. So especially away from Tuscaloosa, I love Tennessee here.
Colby, one more game. Go ahead.
Real quick. Just to note, they've allowed one team, Colby, Tennessee, to score 80 points this year. Only one out of 28 games. That's amazing. So,
yeah.
Go ahead.
And they're 14-1 at home. They're 14-1 at home. I love them in this spot.
Yeah.
Colby, one more for me. Maryland on the road at Penn State, laying 4.5. Do the Terps bounce back from that brutal beat, the buzzer that Michigan State got them earlier this week, or are they still down? Are they still smarting from that and they struggle here?
I find this to be a tricky spot. Penn State's gotten healthier. They've looked pretty good the past couple of weeks. They just got eliminated. They can't go because the Big Ten has so many teams that you can't invite everybody to the conference tournament anymore. So now I feel like they're playing with no pressure and house money. I kind of like it, and I kind of like Penn State here, especially knowing what Maryland has on deck with a trip at Michigan. So give me Penn State as an upset here. I think the way they've been playing, Ace Baldwin, those guards that have been there so long, I think it can give Maryland some problems here. And I think Maryland's going to be a trendy play. Watch out for Mike Rhodes and company.
Interesting. Yeah, there's a few conferences like that. There's just so many teams now that you can't have everyone go. Otherwise, you'll be playing basketball for a week and a half. So, Colby, great job as always, my friend. Let's cash some tickets. Check out his podcast, the College Experience Podcast, and I'm sure we'll do it again soon.
Yeah, thanks for having me, guys. Best wishes on the weekend, and thanks again.
You got it, man. Colby Dent. Here we go. A lot to get to, including our Black Cloud Day. What's up, man?
Brady Kannon saying that if his brother did miss that overtime period against Canada like we saw him do, it must be serious out there. And of course, Brady Kannon, not a doctor, but you've got to wonder the status of Matthew Tkachuk and what we're going to find out.
Game time for all of these teams and all these players that were, teammates. Now they're facing off against each other. Now they're back to being teammates, whatever it might be. Like, it's time to get things rolling back in the right direction.
HL today, only on SportsGrid.
Two guys that can do it all.
Too much electricity this morning.
This is a good time. We're having a lot of fun.
I had to do a triple take. Ka-ching! Why? Because of parity.
I didn't mean to offend.
Yeah, it's not going to happen.
Load management is a dirty word.
Let him rip.
You know what? Circumstances provide the results.
What? How do you do this one?
Oh, Donnie, you got such a good show there.
A network that is booming.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
You have Duke the 1, Houston the 2. They're the two best defensive teams in the country. I want to see them play for the right to go to the Final Four because I think that would be a kick-ass game.
Duke is really great on both ends of the floor. They can score and they can defend, and that's why they win by big numbers all the time, because they're really good on both ends of the floor. I don't trust Houston's offense.
Pharrell Coast to Coast, only on SportsGrid.
All right, welcome back in Game Live. Game Day here on the grid. Scott and Brady Kannon until 10 p.m. Eastern Time. You know what time it is. Final segment of the first hour, our Black Cloud Play of the Day. Rules are made to be broken, and that's what we're going to do for our Black Cloud Play of the Day tonight. We've had a good run. We're at least 3-1. I honestly forget what we did on Monday. All I do know is we had under Luka winner Tuesday, over Arkansas Wednesday winner, and then last night we had Vegas laying a goal and a half. Had to sweat it out a little bit after taking a 5-1 lead, but they did win 7-5. So that one. So we're at worst, we're 3-1 heading into tonight. So I generally don't use halftime lines or quarter lines, especially in the NBA where anything is up in the air. It doesn't matter at all what happens in the first half, right? But I am going to tonight. Why? Because we have a back-to-back situation between the Phoenix Suns and the god-awful biggest waste of human flesh, east of the Mississippi, New Orleans Pelicans. Pelicans actually went to Phoenix last night and not only covered, but won outright. And basically from start to finish, Phoenix is fighting for a playoff spot. They can't afford to lose games against god-awful New Orleans. Pelicans are, fighting for nothing. So they're meeting again tonight. And I'm thinking if Phoenix, after losing last night outright at home, doesn't come out flying tonight and pound New Orleans in the first quarter, kind of like we saw with the Celtics and Cleveland Cavaliers tonight, right? Then, you know what, just put a fork in Phoenix, then we're done with them. So a rare first quarter play, Brady. Phoenix comes out flying. A lot of prideful players on that team. They had to have been embarrassed, had to have read the riot act. Right back out there today. I think they end up winning the first quarter. Honestly, if you get adjusted lines, I don't know if you can for first quarter, but I'd be real surprised if they didn't lead 5, 7, 9 points after the first quarter against New Orleans. So lay the 2.5, our Black Cloud Play of the day.
I like it, Scott. And I tell you, I wouldn't mind taking the Phoenix Suns for the entire game. We talked about a buy low spot on Purdue earlier in the program. I think it's possibly a buy low spot on the Phoenix Suns, who have really been struggling. I think they've lost 3 out of their last 4, something like that. And so they've been hitting the skids here and certainly, losing support in the public eye. Meanwhile, it's really weird how we get this in the NBA now and then. We had it not too long ago with OKC and Minnesota. There was about a day between when they played each other, and now you have 2 teams exactly, back to back in the same matchup. It's just kind of weird. I don't remember that always being the case, except for maybe the last 3 seasons or so. But New Orleans, off of that huge effort, winning it outright, and Zion Williamson goes for a triple-double. It's kind of like Jake Knapp shooting 59, right? I don't think he's going to shoot 59 again. And I don't think Williamson is going to do. I don't think he's going to repeat that performance again here on Friday night. So yeah, I think it's a good bounce back spot for Phoenix. I think it's a possible letdown spot for New Orleans. So yeah, not only the first quarter, I'm on board with you there. I wouldn't be surprised if Phoenix won the thing by margin for all 4 quarters.
Yeah, I just didn't want to chance it. I just figured for sure they were going to come out flying. Maybe they get up big, and the point spread ended up being like 9.5. I just said,
it is a big number. Yeah,
it is. But they should. You would think they would win by 20, but NBA you could be up 20 and let your guard down and end up winning by 5, 6, 7 points. So my thinking was that they were embarrassed last night and they'll come out flying, and hopefully that's the case. They could. And yet still realize, well, what's the difference? What's happens in the second half is really what matters. And they come out stale. Who knows? But I would think there's a prideful bunch of guys that would be just like, man, we lost to a bunch of nobodies on our own home court. So, yeah, I do like that one. Nice little comeback by Purdue. We're both on the wrong end of things here. At least you got Purdue leading. You're laying 6. I got the under. We're at 37-35 at the half. Now the over-under is up to 144.5. So, but Purdue was up. I don't know if it was double digits, but it was pretty close to it, right? 8, 9, 10 points. I think it was actually.
Right. I'm not sure if it quite got to doubles, but I think they were up by as many as 9, and a good run there by UCLA to close out the half to get this to just a 2-point ball game. But I have faith in the Boilermakers. And, you obviously hope it's going to stay under the total. I think we're going to see more of what we saw for the most part of the first half continue here in the second half. I think the Boilers get this one by 8 points or so.
Yeah. Hour number 2 coming up next here on the Grid.
Brady Kannon saying that if his brother did miss that overtime period against Canada like we saw him do, it must be serious out there. And of course, Brady Kannon, not a doctor, but you've got to wonder the status of Matthew Tkachuk and what we're going to find out.
Game time for all of these teams and all these players that were, teammates. Now they're facing off against each other. Now they're back to being teammates, whatever it might be. Like, it's time to get things rolling back in the right direction.
HL today, only on SportsGrid.
Two guys that can do it all.
Too much electricity this morning.
This is a good time. We're having a lot of fun.
I had to do a triple take. Ka-ching! Why? Because of parity.
I didn't mean to offend.
Yeah, it's not going to happen.
Load management is a dirty word.
Let him rip.
You know what? Circumstances provide the results.
What? How do you do this once?
Oh, Donnie, you got such a good show there.
A network that is booming.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
You have Duke the 1, Houston the 2. They're the 2 best defensive teams in the country. I want to see them play for the right to go to the Final Four because I think that would be a kick-ass game.
Duke is really great on both ends of the floor. They can score and they can defend, and that's why they win by big numbers all the time, because they're really good on both ends of the floor. I don't trust Houston's offense.
Pharrell Coast to Coast, only on SportsGrid.
All right, welcome back in Game Live, Game Day here on the Grid. Scott Wetzel, Brady Kannon, hour number 2 of our 2-hour extravaganza. We got Cam Stewart coming up in a little bit. Opposite picks coming up as well at the bottom of the hour, and a whole lot of fun in between, as well as we'll also talk with Drew Johnson, professional poker player. How about that? Co-host of the Advantage Sports Betting Podcast with Michael Fiddle, who joins us from time to time. So a lot to get to over the next hour here. Brady got a couple of NBA games, a couple of college basketball games that are starting. Take a peek at the NBA games, games in progress. We talked earlier about how this was kind of a statement type of game for Detroit. Not that we were necessarily endorsing them, but them a chance to win their 9th in a row, back-to-back wins against Boston and Denver. Maybe the best team in the East, maybe, certainly one of the best, and certainly one of the best in the West. Doesn't look like it's happening. 112-92, actually 112-95 now. Denver does lead. Denver's coming up a loss, which probably didn't help Detroit's situation. And after they lost in Milwaukee last night, they don't want to lose 2 in a row. And the Nuggets, being the Nuggets, responded, now leading by 17.
Show 'em who's boss Friday night here, as the old guard is taking care of the plucky upstarts here, with the Denver Nuggets taking care of business on the Detroit Pistons here. Like you said, was a 20-point lead there for a minute. Now 112-95. Denver laying 15.5 in the live market, just under 9 minutes left in regulation. And then the other one, the Boston Celtics, taking care of business with the, all of a sudden the darling Cleveland Cavaliers, who come into Boston, thinking they have big things on their mind, only a 1.5 point underdog. They're kind of, pretty close to getting blown out as well. That number that you and I were talking about a while ago, I thought it was a good, number to take, 7.5. It's now 10.5. They trail by 15, 85-70. Still a lot of basketball left, about halfway, or actually not quite halfway through the third quarter, 8.5 minutes left in the third quarter. But Boston, every time Cleveland tries to cut into that lead, Boston is able to pull away. And now, like I say, extending all the way, in fact, now 17 points. So this could have blowout written all over it here pretty quickly.
Yeah, I was going to say the same exact thing, Brady. Every time, Cleveland's kind of keeping it around 6, 7, 8, and then Boston will push it back up to 10, 12. Then Cleveland will make a little bit of a run, cut it back down to 6, 7 again, and then Boston goes on off another run. And this run, the latest run, is really a run, back up to 17. But it's interesting, right? You and I have been doing this a long time. Sometimes the boys in Vegas will make the number higher than what the lead is. Other times they'll make it lower. And in this case, it's been consistently lower. Like Boston leads by 17, but you're only laying 12.5. When they were up 10 or 12 before, you were only getting 7.5. So they continue to tell you they think Cleveland is going to come back and make this a game. And I don't doubt it when everything is said and done, but it just seems like whenever Boston needs to, whenever they get challenged, they just turn the juices back on tonight and they're, they go back up double digits.
And it kind of makes sense the way this game has been going so far. Maybe when we get late into the fourth quarter, Boston's going to be up by 12, 14 points or whatever. And, they know that the game is in the bag. And then Cleveland, comes in the in-game back door, if you will, and loses this one by 9 points or something like that. A good one going in Memphis. And, I was kind of looking at the Knicks and the under prior to tip-off in this game. The Grizzlies were laying, I believe, about 4.5 points. Yeah, 4.5. The Grizzlies were favored in this one just before halftime here, and Memphis is up by 3, 57-54. New York getting 3.5 in the live market. Don't love that. Rather have 4.5 or more, but it's not surprising me that the Knicks are being competitive here, and the game is absolutely on an under pace. We talked about this in the first hour. I was surprised to see a New York Knicks total of almost 245. Now the in-game number is at 233.5. So this game has been a little slower than expectations were prior to tip-off.
Yeah, that was it's funny. You were looking Knicks and under. I was looking Memphis and over. Just because I thought
opposite pick, Scott. There you go.
There you go. There you go. Right. I mean, it's been thrown down our throats so much lately about Knicks against really good teams. And do we want to put Memphis in the category of, the Celtics and OKC or Cleveland? No, they're not probably in that category, but, they are top 10 team. That's for sure. Top 6 or 7 when you look at the
records.
Who
would you take right now? Who would you take right now, Scott? Let's say, I don't know, best of 5 series, best of 7, right. The Warriors or the Grizzlies?
Yeah, you'd have to take Golden State, right? The way they're playing, I just all that.
I can't get behind. I'm kind of, with you that I just don't think we can categorize Memphis as a really good team just yet. It still feels like they're at least a couple years away to me. OKC is awful close. They were good last year. They're really good this year. Who knows? They might make it all the way to the finals. We were talking about that earlier. I don't know if they're quite there yet, but they're a lot closer in my mind than Memphis.
Yeah. I mean, you think about it, it's kind of funny, right? The best team in the NHL record-wise is Washington, or the two best, Washington and Winnipeg. And, you can count on one hand out of 100 NHL fans that actually think Winnipeg or Washington is winning the Stanley Cup. They just don't, right? And same thing in the NBA. You got Cleveland in the East and you got OKC in the West. Now, some people think OKC, but there's a lot of doubters. There really are. And Memphis is in that same kind of category. We're record regular season. Just when you get them into the postseason, you get them in a best of 7. Fans just don't have faith in those teams, and you got to get it done. Until you get it done, it's always fool on me, shame on me once, shame on you twice, that sort of thing. Let's see you get it done before I actually believe that you can win a championship. So
I think when you get to the postseason and that pressure and the spotlight and everything, you need veteran leadership. And the Celtics, we saw them a few years ago lose to Golden State in the finals. They were still relatively young back then. Now all those guys are 2, 3, 4 years older, and they're mature, and they've got a championship under their belt as well. Yeah. The Lakers have a couple of veteran stars. The Warriors still have veteran stars, and it doesn't feel like Memphis is anywhere near that. Now, like I said, OKC is really good, and it wouldn't surprise me if they got some places here in the postseason. But I think the point is, you and I, we're both gravitating towards these teams that have veteran presence and experience.
Yep. They have reached halftime. Memphis does lead 59-56, but as you mentioned, Brady, well off the 244.5 pace that it was to start the game. It's down to 233.5. You got 115 points. That gives you 230, but again, that's not even halfway to what the number they're giving you, and not even close to what the original number was. So that's looking under. Crazy game in Miami. 69-68. I say crazy. I really should say normal NBA game in Miami, even with the Heat. 69-68 at the half against Indiana. Pacers, who I did like in the game, laying 3.5, and the over/under is 252.5. I think the Pacers can play this way for the whole game. I don't know if Miami can. I would think Indiana.
Yeah, this is a pretty wild one here. You've got the Pacers, who have a very good offense and a decent defense, against Miami, who has a very poor offense and a pretty darn good defense. And here you have basically the most number of points on the board, for where they are at the game. 252.5, like you say, the in-game number. And I'm also a little bit surprised that Miami, not only that they have 68 points on the board, but that they're hanging right there with Indiana.
Yeah, that's the amazing thing. Yeah, they're playing Indiana's game, but they're hanging it up. But
right.
I just wonder if we can do that for an entire game. So take a look at the hockey board, little golf action as well. We'll see how the second round of the PGA event turned out this week.
So my team didn't win this weekend, but I still did with this app that's taking over the game. Sports Millions Pick'em lets you make quick and easy predictions. Pick your favorite players, go higher or lower, and you can still win big even if your team loses. Plus, the multiplier is insane. With just a few picks, you can win big money. So get on it. They've got a welcome bonus to help you start off your winning streak.
There is going to be an energy to game time decisions that you will feel night in and night out. We're going to go through every single thing, and I've got a great team behind me that's going to help me get the job done. I want this to be the place that people come to. We are going to hit every single one of those markets that you need to know about. There is not going to be a better place, I promise you, than Game Time Decisions. We will have everything at our disposal, and we will use that to our advantage. I'm Kevin Walsh. Tune into Game Time Decisions from 6 to 8 p.m. Eastern on SportsGrid.
The two guys that can do it all.
Too much electricity this morning.
This is a good time. We're having a lot of fun.
I had to do a triple take. Ka-ching! Why? Because of parity.
I didn't mean to offend.
Yeah, it's not going to happen.
Load management is a dirty word.
Let him rip.
You know what? Circumstances provide the results.
What? How do you do this one?
Oh, Donnie, you got such a good show there.
A network that is booming.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
Your gut says Miami is going to win, and you should take the over. Your gut also said your NFT selfies would only go up in value. They didn't. But your head is on SportsGrid and knows the QB is in concussion protocol. The backup has a 45 QBR against the zone coverage. The New York D has the most sacks in the league. So yeah, trust your head. It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
right, welcome back in Game Live, Game Day here on the Grid. Scott Wetzel, Brady Kannon in for Dave Sherapaz. We take you right to 10 p.m. Eastern time. A little NBA, a little college basketball, a little hockey tonight. We'll check out the golf, as I mentioned before, as well, before we are through. But first up, got a couple of NBA games tipping off. One right now, another one in a little bit. So let's go back to the hardwood with our next guest, Drew Johnson, professional poker player, co-host of the Advantage Sports Betting Podcast with Michael Fiddle, who joins us from time to time. Drew, I'm Scott, Brady Kannon. How are you this evening?
Not too bad. How are you guys?
Good. Interesting game coming up, and we were talking in the break. We got the Phoenix Suns just tipping off against the New Orleans Pelicans, who beat them last night. I'm all over Phoenix tonight. Brady likes them as well. I actually took them as a first quarter bet, but your thoughts on Phoenix laying 9.5 at home against New Orleans tonight?
Yeah, we were all over this as well on the podcast this morning. We picked up this line at, I think, like a -6.5 or something. For some reason, it was just kind of weird. We all know Zion doesn't play back-to-backs, right? Like, he literally announced this to the world a month ago. So to see that spread again, basically the same spread as the night prior, maybe minus another point to start at open, was a little crazy to me. And when CJ McCollum and Zion were both ruled out, I just felt that Phoenix was still a play even at 9.
Drew, I was thinking, Scott and I were talking about this game earlier because Scott was talking about, that he expected, Phoenix has really been struggling as of late. He expected them to bounce back tonight. He made that play for the first quarter. I thought even if Zion does play, I mean, the guy recorded a triple-double. They win outright as big underdogs. I thought, no way history's going to repeat itself here. Did that come into your thinking in any way, form, or fashion as well? I didn't think the Pelicans were going back to the well and going to pull off a double dip in Phoenix 2 nights in a row.
Yeah, we were surprised by the result last night, too, especially with them missing, not playing Bruce Brown and Kelly Olynyk in back-to-backs, who were key pieces in that win, their prior win. So, just strange, right? And I know that the Phoenix has been terrible for the last sort of 2 weeks, 3-week period, and yet the market gives them credit every game. They take steam throughout the day, and they close 2 points higher than all the time here. So it's really interesting. We see the scores 15-9 right now. So that bet is looking, knocking on wood right now for you, good.
Yeah. Yeah. What is it about? I mean, you know what? They have the worst against the spread record in the NBA at home. 8-23-1. Their last 32 home games, 2-11 straight up. Their last 13 games overall, and nearly as bad against the spread. I mean, they're just a horrible bet on. But you said it. I mean, every single game, Drew, they have their monster favorites either at home or on the road, and yet they fail to cover, and the line doesn't seem to adjust with that club.
No, it just, the market still continues to back them. And for once tonight, I think that's the spot to take, right? With Zion not playing. And he is really the linchpin of that New Orleans Pelicans team right now. For the most part, he's the focal point. We saw that last night with him getting 10 assists. And the way he gets to the rim, some of the plays he makes when he's fully engaged. I don't know if you guys saw the free throw line dunk the other night where he just took off 2 feet from the free throw line essentially and two-handed jammed it. It was unbelievable. Yeah. And that's what he's capable of. And there isn't really a response for most teams against that. So when he's out, I think it's more of a fade the Pelicans than a back the Suns spot today.
Drew, I want to know, we've got one more game coming up a little bit later this evening, 7 p.m. Pacific time, 10 p.m. Eastern. The battle for Los Angeles here, the Lakers and the Clippers. The Clippers have been on a road trip. They're returning home, kind of, not to the same arena anymore, but they're back home. And they will take on Los Angeles, who playing in a back-to-back here. They beat Minnesota last night. And it seems like that translates now into Doncic and LeBron James not playing in this game. I they're citing a foot injury and this and that. I don't know. But now we've got the Clippers favored by 5.5, 6 points. How do you handicap this one? This one's confusing to me.
It's honestly all injury related. So last night, I believe the line was released as the game was being played. Lakers -1.5. And then Rui went out. And then Jackson Hayes went to the locker room. He did come back. He did come back into the game. And Luka had kind of just a little moment where he took an awkward step or something like that. And it looked like he might have strained that calf again. And we were all worried. And we were like, oh, we should probably be actioning the Clippers right now if all three of these guys are not going to play. And then with the questionable all day, I think the steam just moved towards the Clippers for the entirety of it. And then sort of literally, I want to say like 5 minutes before I came on, it was announced that Luka is now probable and Norm Powell is out for the Clippers right now. So that line has crashed back to like pick 'em in, I want to say like 3 minutes.
Yeah, FanDuel's got it at -1.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know if that's even.
You couldn't even action it. It was that
the
fast.
wrong one. Gosh darn it! I can't get this.
Amazing. I mean, it's the end of the year. All these games count, and man, you still don't know. They got to come up with a system. They really do. The NFL, as normal, has the best. You got a half hour, an hour, whatever it is. You got to let us know who's playing, who's not playing. Who's not playing for Minnesota? Anthony Edwards tonight. I doubt Rudy Gobert is going to be in there as well. They are still laying 4 at Utah. Drew, what do you like in that one?
That's a weird one again. I think even DiVincenzo is out on the second night of a back-to-back. I don't know if that's true off the top of my head, but I believe I saw that. And I'm super concerned about the Timberwolves right now. I don't know if they have a lot of firepower. They don't have enough size to go against this Utah team. I'm kind of with the Utah Jazz at home tonight.
Yeah. In fact, I'm looking at it, and they're not listed DiVincenzo for any of the props either. I noticed that before, and it's still. So, Chancellor, he's pretty good. He's not playing. So, Drew, great job, man. We'll do it again soon. Check out his podcast, the Advantage Sports Betting Podcast. Thanks, Drew.
Brady Kannon saying that if his brother did miss that overtime period against Canada like we saw him do, it must be serious out there. And of course, Brady Kannon, not a doctor, but you've got to wonder the status of Matthew Kannon and what we're going to find out.
Game time for all of these teams and all these players that were, teammates. Now they're facing off against each other. Now they're back to being teammates, whatever it might be. Like, it's time to get things rolling back in the right direction.
HL today, only on SportsGrid.
Two guys that can do it all.
Too much electricity this morning.
This is a good time. We're having a lot of fun.
I had to do a triple take. Ka-ching! Why? Because of parity.
I didn't mean to offend.
Yeah, it's not going to happen.
Load management is a dirty word.
Let him rip.
You know what? Circumstances provide the results.
What? How do you do this one?
Oh, Donnie, you got such a good show there.
A network that is booming.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
You have Duke the 1, Houston the 2. They're the two best defensive teams in the country. I want to see them play for the right to go to the Final Four because I think that would be a kick-ass game.
Duke is really great on both ends of the floor. They can score and they can defend, and that's why they win by big numbers all the time, because they're really good on both ends of the floor. I don't trust Houston's offense.
Pharrell Coast to Coast, only on SportsGrid.
welcome back in Game Live. Game Day here on the Grid. Scott and Brady Kannon until 10 p.m. Eastern time. Check it out. Little NBA, little college basketball, little hockey. We got opposite picks coming up in about 5 minutes next segment, so don't go anywhere. NBA, boy, typical NBA. Celtics leading by as many. Well, we'll have to see, but it was over 20. I know it was 25-3 to start the game, 25-2. It's now 96-95. It wasn't that long ago when they had a 17-point lead. Yeah, right. And you and I both said it. I mean, chances are pretty good that this is going to get closer because they keep on making these spurts. And it's down to 1 late third quarter. 96-95, and they're still in the third quarter, though. The over-under was at 2. I said before the game started, Brady, I was on with Ranieri in Game Time Decisions. The 3 previous games, they were relatively high scoring, but we didn't have that 130, 125 shootout between these two teams like they're both more than capable of doing. And lo and behold, it might be tonight. It probably will be tonight because you're at 98-95 after 3. So
right,
this was the one
98-95 after 3. And it was a 1-point game here just 10 seconds ago, 96-95. Boston added a bucket there before the end of the quarter. But what was a 1-point game 10 seconds ago was a 17-point lead for the Boston Celtics just 8 minutes ago. I remember we were sitting here, running down the scoreboard, and I said 8.5 minutes left in the third. Boston was up by 17. 8 minutes, it flipped to basically a tie game. Pretty crazy.
Yeah. 87-70. I remember the score. Yeah. And it's weird that they were leading by 17, right? And then we were only still getting 10 or 12. And I said, it's telling that they're giving you less, right? But now it's down to 3, so it's basically pick 'em, right? Yet the Celtics are actually a 2.5-point favorite on the money line, and you're still getting pretty good number on Cleveland right now, plus 164. So while they didn't give Boston credit for covering the major number, they are giving them the benefit of the doubt of actually winning the game.
Well, what's wild is I remember, at the first part of this show, you and I we've been looking at this game throughout, off and on throughout the program here. And Cleveland was down by, I want to say it was 8 to 10 points or so. And that money line was almost plus 160. It was plus 158. It's 6 cents difference now with a 3-point game. I mean, it's like the odds makers just left this thing around 160 the whole time. They said, we know it's going to be eventually like this. Here we are back at, basically a price of plus 160 on the dog to win this thing again.
It's amazing. How do you trail a game 25-3, and yet, basically 2.5 quarters later, right? Because that was midway through the first quarter. 2.5 quarters later, you're basically back to square one. It's like, if you don't show up, you don't show up. You can't be happy about it, but okay, it's going to happen, right? But not only, have they shown up, they come all the way back and made this basically anybody's game.
It's turned out to be a great contest, and we talked about the Knicks, and Memphis is a real good game. That's a 2-point game, 69-67 in favor of the Grizzlies. 9 minutes to go in the third quarter there. Indiana starting to pull away from the Heat a little bit, still on a heck of a pace scoring-wise, 77-71, in-game total up to 254.5. But most importantly, your Phoenix Suns, you're looking to cash a bet here in the next 4 minutes and 15 seconds. They are out in front of New Orleans by 11. And still 4 minutes left to go in the first quarter, 25-14. You nailed it, Scott. They came out of the gates guns a-blazing.
I figured that, right? I mean, they're just you lose to the Pelicans. Although when Zion's playing, I will say that they could be a halfway decent team. And just out of curiosity, is he playing tonight? He's not playing tonight. Yeah. So, but I just figured, it's hard to do that anyway. NBA had some goofy. There was one series this week. I forget who it was. They were playing each other 3 times in a week and a half span. It was like back to back, and then they had played 3 days early. Yeah, it's so strange.
It didn't seem like they never used to do that, right? So why do they do it now?
Yeah.
I don't understand. I know they've tried to adjust the schedule to avoid the back-to-backs and that type of stuff. Maybe that's plays a part in why those things are happening all the time. But it's pretty screwy. I can't imagine the players love it either.
Yeah, I wouldn't think so. So, all right, so we're laying 2.5 first quarter. They're up 11, 25-14. It's not over. Got to sweat it out, no doubt. 3.5 minutes left, but at least we're looking pretty good with that one. So, and then we got our SGP, the Minnesota Teacups in Utah. They tip off in just a couple moments as well. Opposite pick coming up next. You're on the grid.
Brady Kannon saying that if his brother did miss that overtime period against Canada like we saw him do, it must be serious out there. And of course, Brady Kannon, not a doctor, but you've got to wonder the status of Matthew Tkachuk and what we're going to find out.
Game time for all of these teams and all these players that were, teammates. Now they're facing off against each other. Now they're back to being teammates, whatever it might be. Like, it's time to get things rolling back in the right direction.
HL today, only on SportsGrid.
Two guys that can do it all.
Too much electricity this morning.
This is a good time. We're having a lot of fun.
I had to do a triple take. Ka-ching! Why? Because of parity.
I didn't mean to offend.
Yeah, it's not going to happen.
Load management is a dirty word.
Let him rip.
You know what? Circumstances provide the results.
What? How do you do this once?
Oh, Donnie, you've got such a good show there.
A network that is booming.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
You have Duke the 1, Houston the 2. They're the two best defensive teams in the country. I want to see them play for the right to go to the Final Four because I think that would be a kick-ass game.
Duke is really great on both ends of the floor. They can score and they can defend, and that's why they win by big numbers all the time, because they're really good on both ends of the floor. I don't trust Houston's offense.
Pharrell Coast to Coast, only on SportsGrid.
Ah, yeah. LLs know what that music means. Time to take out your pad and proving it again with our college basketball plays. 19 up, 16 down after a mere 3-4 last week, but still 3 games over 500. So here we go, another 7-pack of games. We're going to start with Clemson tomorrow, laying 6.5 at Virginia. You know what? I'm all over this Clemson team. They are red hot. Might just give the Dookie Pukies a run for the money in the ACC tournament. Clemson's won 11 of its last 12 games to move to 15-2 in ACC conference play. And amazingly, get a load of this, 13 of their 15 conference wins have come by double digits, including 5 on the road. So don't worry about this being a road game. If Clemson wins out and Dookie Pukie loses one of the remaining games, then Clemson is the ACC champ because they beat Duke. So they certainly have something to play for. Virginia, just 7-10 in conference play, barely over 500 overall. They don't stand a chance against Clemson. Love the Tigers here. Yeah, give me Virginia plus 6.5. Pick number 2, we'll keep it in the ACC. North Carolina laying a big number, 18.5, but it's against Miami. You know what? Don't look now, but the Tar Heels have got themselves back in business for maybe an NCAA at-large bid. They've won 5 of 6, including 4 in a row. They're 18-11 with 3 games left. The last one against Duke. They need to win these next 2 against putrid Miami and Va Tech. So you know you're going to get their A effort. Miami, beyond bad, folks. Canes are in last place in the mediocre ACC at 2-15. They've lost 4 in a row. They're 0-8 on the road where this game is. They're one of the worst against the spread teams in the nation at 10-18 against the spread. They stink. Everything points to North Carolina. Give me Miami plus the 18.5. Pick number 3, Kentucky getting 4.5 versus Auburn. Great game in the SEC. Kentucky, though, a home dog? Are you kidding me? The Cats are good this year. Obviously, so is Auburn, number 1 in the country. But this is a road game. And as we were telling Colby earlier tonight, as good as Auburn is on the road record-wise, 7-1, they've only won 2 road games by double digits. Now, you may be saying, well, you're only laying 4.5. I get that. But if Alabama, which is a good team, but if LSU, Georgia, Texas, and South Carolina can all hang with Auburn at home, then you know Kentucky can. And they're so much better than those clubs that Kentucky could actually win this thing outright. Cats, a remarkable 15-4 against the spread as underdogs the last 2 seasons, including 6-2 this year. In the words of my buddy Arnie Spanier, don't like the 4.5 points, don't need the 4.5 points, but I'll take the 4.5 points. Love Kentucky here. Give me Auburn, plus or minus the 4.5 points. Pick number 4, Arkansas laying 1.5 at South Carolina. Oh, the boys in Vegas must have a broken computer because it's missing a digit. Arkansas should be favored by 11.5, not 1.5. Are you kidding me? Calipari's crew is playing its best ball this season. They have their sights on an at-large bid in the NCAA tournament, which if I would have told you that 3 weeks ago, they would have said you were a dope. But wins over Kentucky, Missouri, and Texas twice have definitely rejuvenated their hopes. South Carolina, on the other hand, the Pits, folks. Worst team in the SEC, 1-14 in conference play. They can't buy a win, and now all I have to do is lay 1.5. South Carolina, only 12-16 covering the spread. They do what they'll do best, lose. Love Arkansas here. Give me South Carolina, plus 1.5. Pick number 5, Tennessee laying 3.5 against Alabama. Maybe the best game on the board tomorrow. Great game in the SEC. I hate putting hard-earned American money on Rick I couldn't win with Kevin Durant Barnes. But you know what? This number is so small at home, I'm going to do it. Volunteers 14-1 at home this season. And that's the key because just like with Auburn, as good as Alabama is, they aren't the same team on the road. 10 road games, only 3 by double digits. The other 7, either losses or single-digit wins. That's not going to get it done at Tennessee, folks. 28 games, Tennessee has allowed 1 team, Missouri, 1, to score 100? No. To score 90? No. How about 80 points, 1 team? And if Alabama's not scoring 80, they're not winning a basketball game. Tennessee is solid 9-6 against the spread in those 15 games as well at home. Absolutely love Tennessee tomorrow. Give me Alabama, plus the 3.5. Pick number 6. We're going into the well deep for this one. East Tennessee State laying 11.5 against the Citadel. Out of all the games, why this one, you ask? Well, East Tennessee State, not bad. 18-12 on the season, 12-6 in Southern Conference play. One of the best teams. Citadel, on the other hand, not only one of the worst in the Southern Conference. How about one of the worst in all of college basketball? I mean, rock bottom. 5-23, 0-17 in conference play. They only have one win against a Division I team. All the others against Division II teams. They're 1-23, folks, against Division I teams. Over half of Citadel's losses have come by double digits, including 6 at home. So don't worry about this being a home game. They lost by only 18 earlier against East Tennessee State. It's the final game for East Tennessee State as well. They can finish in a tie for second place with the win and losses by Sanford and UNC Greensboro. So they do have a reason to play. Citadel, one of the worst teams in college basketball to cover the spread as well. 9-15 against the spread. Love East Tennessee State here. Give me the Citadel, plus 11.5. Final pick number 7. Yes, Longwood at South Carolina State. I don't even know what the line is because it's not out yet. This game is so small, but it doesn't matter. Just lay the wood with Longwood no matter what it is. It's a goofy game. What the fudge is South Carolina Upstate anyway? Don't confuse them with South Carolina. Don't even confuse them with South Carolina State. This is South Carolina Upstate. What is that, folks? All right, here's what we know about this team. They stink. How about 6-24 straight up, 2-13 in the Big South, which isn't exactly the SEC when it comes to college basketball. This team lost to the likes of Radford, Winthrop, South Carolina State, the aforementioned. And how about the NCAA basketball power Gardner-Webb beating South Carolina Upstate? Again, they stink, folks. Longwood, 17-13, 78th in the nation in scoring, and they beat South Carolina Upstate by 26. And now all I'm going to have to do is probably like 10 or 11. You'd have to be the biggest bird brain, butthead, meathead, numbskull, nincompoop, knucklehead, lunatic, dope, dunce, dork, idiot, jerk, jackass in the world to put American money on South Carolina Upstate, no matter what the line is. Give us South Carolina Upstate plus the points. Opposite picks, week number 6. Virginia plus 6.5. Miami plus 18.5. Auburn laying 4.5. South Carolina plus 1.5. Alabama plus 3.5. The Citadel plus 11.5. And it pains me to say it, but give me South Carolina Upstate. Opposite picks, week number 6. Can't do it. Coming up next.
Brady Kannon saying that if his brother did miss that overtime period against Canada like we saw him do, it must be serious out there. And of course, Brady Kannon, not a doctor, but you've got to wonder the status of Matthew Kannon and what we're going to find out.
Game time for all of these teams and all these players that were, teammates. Now they're facing off against each other. Now they're back to being teammates, whatever it might be. Like, it's time to get things rolling back in the right direction.
HL today, only on SportsGrid.
Two guys that can do it all.
Too much electricity this morning.
This is a good time. We're having a lot of fun.
I had to do a triple take. Ka-ching! Why? Because of parity.
I didn't mean to offend.
Yeah, it's not going to happen.
Load management is a dirty word.
Let him rip.
You know what? Circumstances provide the results.
What? How do you do this one?
Oh, Donnie, you've got such a good show there.
A network that is booming.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
You have Duke the 1, Houston the 2. They're the 2 best defensive teams in the country. I want to see them play for the right to go to the Final Four because I think that would be a kick-ass game.
Duke is really great on both ends of the floor. They can score and they can defend, and that's why they win by big numbers all the time because they're really good on both ends of the floor. I don't trust Houston's offense.
Pharrell Coast to Coast, only on SportsGrid.
All right, welcome back in Game Live, Game Day here on the grid, all set with our opposite picks. So let's go to another guy that adheres to the opposite picks philosophy every once in a while. Our good buddy Cam Stewart, who takes over at the top of the hour along with Gabe Morency. What's going on, Cam? How are you tonight?
Well, once in a while, Scott. I own the gambling dumpsters in the neighborhood, always looking for those scraps. But last night, remember, Wright State down 14 at the break, outright. This is what we talk about. Yeah. These crazy teams down early, small favorites in the game. I'm telling you, next to hockey, these college basketball, they're kids. But we've seen it in the NBA tonight. Look at Boston and Cleveland. You can get Cleveland live at plus 11.5. They're winning. So there's so many swings, guys. But let's step up right now. I'm actually glad that Minnesota scored this next goal in hockey. Give me Colorado minus 130 down 1 goal, probably at the end of the first period right now. So these guys were like minus 270, right, Scott, before the start of the game. Yeah. So that's a small price to pay. So I'll take Colorado. College hoops, great one between Purdue and UCLA. Give me the Bruins plus 2.5 live in that spot. Really can't do too much with the Dallas Stars game. I'm on them money line. The total's 8.5. Now I'm going to pass on that one. So give me Colorado and give me UCLA and college hoops, guys.
Yeah, outright state, Cam, right? And you mentioned the Cavaliers. Scott and I were talking about that one all night long. You know, I like the Cavaliers getting 7.5, and then I thought I was an idiot. They're getting 12.5. Now they're in the lead by 6 points. What a wild basketball game that is down there in TD Gardens. What about right here in Las Vegas, my friend, at the Thomas and Mack Center, the UNLV Runnin' Rebels? They're taking on the Wolfpack from upstate in Reno. Now, the Nevada-Reno Wolfpack, they're laying 1.5 here. We were talking with Colby Dant a little earlier. He kind of likes the Rebels here. What about you?
I love it. When Colby and I are on the same side like we did last week's show, good things usually happens. Me and this guy, it's kind of weird. We're like brothers. Like we kind of take a lot of dogs and stuff like that. But this game was hard, guys. But I'm kind of with Colby. I'm like, Nevada's not very good. The Fremont Cannon, Brady. These guys hate each other. Yeah. Nevada, Reno hates UNLV, vice versa. Like these schools, like they want to scrap. I will take the home dog. I wish we were getting more with UNLV. Two teams kind of middling right now, not doing very well. But UNLV, I think, is the play. Small play on the Rebels. Don't love the game, but in a rivalry game, I kind of want to take that home team. Hopefully they can get on a little heater. You know what? I want them to punch them in the face early, and then maybe we can come back and try to find like a middling number like some of these NBA games tonight, because these swings in basketball have been absolutely nuts. But pregame, UNLV plus 1.5 money line. I'm on it, Brady. Let's rock.
Purdue UCLA, pretty good game as far as in-game betting is concerned. Yep. Purdue jumped out to a big lead. UCLA cut it to 1 or 2 at halftime. It's a 3-point game now. 6.5 minutes left. Purdue's laying 4.5. Any thoughts on that one?
Yeah, I'm going to take UCLA. I know Purdue is at home in this game. I just think UCLA is a huge road test for these guys. Purdue hasn't been playing very well. And, at the start of the game, it's 5.5. UCLA's up a bucket, and we're still getting points, Scott. Give me 2.5 with the UCLA as well. I'll take 2 small dogs, and I'll sprinkle on the money line with the Bruins as well. Brady, I'm trying to find something live in ladies golf. I can't seem to get anything right now. I wish I had some curling for you, too. Curling was hot in Canada last week. Man, these books got to get with it, man. They don't know SportsGrid. We bet on everything. I'm like, that was the best. Morency's like, can I get a curling teaser? 3.5 rocks. I'm like, yeah, no, it's a lot of rocks, man. Like, I'll give you like 1.5 or 2.5. You're asking for 3.5 rocks. That's a lot. But curling betting's amazing. Like it's kind of crazy too, because you can have the hammer and scores can change really quick. Like it's why I know people say, hey, it's for old people and stuff, but I really enjoy it. Like I love watching curling. I guess I'm an old geezer at heart there, Brady. Everything on ice I seem to like. Hockey, curling, love it all.
Hey, how about back to the hardwood? You know, it's halftime right now in Evanston, Illinois. Northwestern up on Iowa by 4 points. You might be able to get a bet in, come on the show with yourself and Gabe and you know, have action for the entire second half here. You're getting the Hawkeyes catching 6.5. Prior to tip, they were a 4.5 point dog. They're only down by 4 here at the break. Any play that you liked prior to tip off or now at the half?
I'm going to be honest with you, Brady. That game kind of scares me. I think I would take Northwestern. As crazy, you know me, and I'm always looking for a dog. I think Northwestern's the play in that game. It's kind of like that Gonzaga game that they had a couple nights ago. Me and Gabe were talking about that one, where Gonzaga was down to Santa Clara. Then they came and ran them out of the gym. I'm not going to say it's going to happen that way, but I prefer Northwestern. I think they're actually going to win this game by probably right around the number, like 7 to 10 points. So I like the Wildcats in that spot. Think about Iowa, man. When their shooting goes cold, they suck. And Northwestern, I think they're a little more grittier. I don't know who necessarily is like the better team, but I would take. Something's telling me Northwestern is the play in that game, Brady. Sometimes the books offer you a little bit more than you want. I have to question it, going, what are they trying to do here? Are they trying to attract Hawkeye money, dog money? I'll take Northwestern. Don't love the game, but that's where I'd lean.
Looks like Luke is going to be playing. I don't know about LeBron and anyone else with this Laker-Clippers game, but your thoughts on that one if you have any. There's so many guys that are in and out. I mean, it's almost like a stay away from me. But
you tell me, Scott. You tell me. I'd probably take the Clippers, but I don't like the game. That's the whole thing. And I'm noticing recently, like Brady knows, like sometimes I have 124 active bets. Let me tell you, though, some of them are 5 and 10 golf bets, but I've been trying to trim the fat. You know what I mean, Scott? Instead of betting like 20 games, like March Madness is coming. Me and Brady bet golf. I want to build that bankroll. Like, we can have opinions on games, but I used to literally bet the board just for the sake of it because I wanted to have action on every game. Got to get better than that. If I like a game, I'll bet it. Maybe like small sprinkles if I don't, but I don't really have an opinion on that game. I think it can go either way. If you put a gun to my head, I'd take the Clippers, but I think it's a very difficult game.
Cam, you mentioned you love it when you and Colby Dance see eye to eye.
Yes.
He loves the Tennessee Volunteers on Saturday taking on Alabama.
So do I.
Are you with Tennessee as well? Okay, there you go.
I've already bet Tennessee. I think Tennessee is one of those teams. Alabama, hey, when their shots are dropping, they're great. They like to play at a fast pace. But Tennessee, I'll take what is it? Rocky Top? Yeah, I'm taking that. Rocky Top. It's a Rocky Top. Give me Tennessee minus 3.5. I think they win this game actually I think they can win by double digits, as crazy as that sounds. Like 10-point, 12-point win. I think they'll cover comfortably in this game. And that's the thing. Home court in college, it still matters in these SEC clashes. Give me the Volunteers all the way.
Matters a bunch this time of year.
Yeah, it does.
Hey, real quick, are you a fan of the outdoor games? Detroit, Columbus tomorrow? I love those things.
I love them too, Scott, but why did they play the other night? Me and Gabe were talking about it. I guess it gave Detroit motivation when Columbus kicked their ass 5-2. They'll be fired up for this game, right? I know I love outdoor games too.
Cam and Gabe, top of the hour. Thanks, Cam.
Thanks, guys.
Brady Kannon saying that if his brother did miss that overtime period against Canada like we saw him do, it must be serious out there. And of course, Brady Kannon, not a doctor, but you've got to wonder the status of Matthew Tkachuk and what we're going to find out.
Game time for all of these teams and all these players that were, teammates. Now they're facing off against each other. Now they're back to being teammates, whoever it might be. Like, it's time to get things rolling back in the right direction.
HL today, only on SportsGrid.
Two guys that can do it all.
Too much electricity this morning.
This is a good time. We're having a lot of fun.
I had to do a triple take. Ka-ching! Why? Because of parity.
I didn't mean to offend.
Yeah, it's not going to happen.
Load management is a dirty word.
Let him rip.
You know what? Circumstances provide the results.
What? How do you do this one?
Oh, Donnie, you've got such a good show there.
A network that is booming.
The Early Line. only on SportsGrid.
You have Duke the 1, Houston the 2. They're the two best defensive teams in the country. I want to see them play for the right to go to the Final Four because I think that would be a kick-ass game.
Duke is really great on both ends of the floor. They can score and they can defend, and that's why they win by big numbers all the time, because they're really good on both ends of the floor. I don't trust Houston's offense.
Pharrell Coast to Coast, only on SportsGrid.
All right, welcome back in Game Live. Game Day here on the grid. Thanks again, Cam Stewart, for joining us. It takes over top of the hour along with the Game Renzi. I'll tell you, I know one person, and there might be more than one. I know one organization that's pretty happy, and I think that's the NBA. Cleveland, Brady, they're going to win the game. They're up 121-114. Yeah, 49 seconds left. Why would the NBA be happy? Because Boston, most people think the Celtics are going to win, no matter what the record is, the Eastern Conference. They're going to the finals. If they end up taking 3 out of the 4 games against Cleveland, then that just reassures people like, all right, I don't need to watch the postseason. Let's just get to the finals. This kind of evens the score just a little bit, maybe puts a little bit of doubt in people's minds. So I think they would have preferred a Cleveland win versus a Celtic win. And like I said, 49 seconds left, timeout, Boston down 7, 121-114. In a game they were leading 25-3.
This has been a fun one to track, all show long here. It's really been a wild turn of events. And we kind of said it from the start that we felt Cleveland was going to eventually make this thing close. And then there were points where it didn't look like that was going to happen. You remember 8.5 minutes left in the third quarter. They were trailing by 17. And then right at the very end of that quarter, they made it a 1-point game, went into the fourth quarter trailing by 3. And here you go. And I can tell you, not only is the NBA happy, a lot of bettors at BetMGM are very happy. I got this report from my friends at BetMGM earlier this evening. The most tickets were on this game, and that's understandable. Certainly the marquee game of the night, the Cleveland Cavaliers at the Boston Celtics, had more action than any other game on the NBA card this evening. And by the way, the most bet team as far as the money line was the Cavaliers at even money, plus 100. So a lot of people cashing that ticket right now at BetMGM. The other one was the Nuggets at minus 115. That was the second most popular money line play. That one is a winner. The third most popular is the Lakers at plus 155. And you just mentioned that it looks like Luka is going to play. LeBron is out, but interesting there. It looks like at least 2 out of 3 are going to get home for the bettors at BetMGM.
How about that? More bad news for Celtic fans. Derek White went up for a shot and got hit hard. Nothing flagrant, I don't think, although they're going to review. Anyway, he's still down. Landed on his backside, his tailbone. So he's up. All right, so I'm being told he's up. My TV's like about an hour and a half behind, so that's good. All right, so
good one in Memphis. We've been talking about all night. The Knicks and the Grizzlies, 1-point game, 92-91. Yeah.
I might need overtime for my over, but at least in 92-91, 10.5 minutes left, so 235.5. Phoenix
and now the Heat out in front, Scott. How about that?
Yes,
the Heat.
Yeah.
Oh, the first quarter was amazing. They won the first quarter, I believe, by 22.
Yeah.
The Phoenix Suns. Yep. How often do you see a first quarter, with a 22-point edge? That's pretty amazing.
Yeah.
I'd say you called that one properly.
We got that one. But we saw a 22-point edge for the Celtics. So if you think that one's over, that's why I don't trust the Phoenix Suns. They're more than capable of blowing that thing. So let me just take my first quarter and go home a winner with that one. So Utah, how about this crazy score? Utah 29-28 against Minnesota. First, I say crazy because there's 3 minutes left to go in the first quarter. 3.5 minutes.
Yeah, a lot of scoring in that one already.
Yeah.
That total was that was one of the lower totals of the night, 226.5. And now you're on a pace of about 20 points higher than that already, with time still left in the first quarter.
Yeah. And most people are betting the under because Anthony Edwards isn't playing, so they have no scoring, blah, blah, blah. But I always tell people, man, these guys on the bench, they all can score, but they don't play any defense. And not the not that NBA games have a lot of defense anyway, but these guys could all score. That's why they're in the league. It's doing the other things. So it's just a boat race back and forth, up and down the court, scoring fest. And I would bet in fact, I just put it in, and it's now, I put it at 244.5, and it's already up to 251.5. You got 69 points with 2 minutes left. I'm telling you, that's going to go over. This has got like 165, 160 written all over it.
And the T-Wolves have been involved in these shootouts, it seems like, for the last week. So, yeah, I think this one's going to sail over the total.
Brady, great job, man. Always enjoy working with you. I'm sure we'll do it again soon.
You too, Scott. Have a good night.
If you back them, you're celebrating. Football season may be over, but the action never stops.
Are you ready for some baseball?
At SportsGrid, we're always in the game. We bring you 24/7 betting insights, expert picks, and real-time analysis. Next